everyone, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. I am going to be sharing my February 2023 Start in My Family Story album. I'm using Ali Edwards products, and for this opening page, I'm kind of using my stash. I have a plastic XOXO heart that I'm trying to get rid of, but I can't seem to find the right project to use it on. And this project's not going to be it. Because I wind up using these circles from this 4x6 card and cutting them out, and I'm going to go with a vertical diagonal kind of design, and I'm also going to use two of those black cards. Well, I think it was a 4x6. I cut it in half and I wound up not using it, and you can see it over to the left. But I'm going to use one of those to punch out some shapes to kind of coordinate with the circles of the February. And I'll also use a black number 2. I believe that's from a December daily kit sometime. So I'm going with the circle shapes, and this photo I actually took at the end of the month, but I'd had these birds up all month long on this shelf. If you guys don't know, I consider myself the queen of the Target birds. I absolutely love them, and I get them for pretty much every holiday, every season. I love them. I will say though that I just got done putting out my St. Patrick's Day bird, and I don't think they sell those anymore. Mine says like 2019, and I haven't seen any St. Patrick's birds since then. I don't know. I could probably pay a fortune on eBay, but I really don't want to do that. So I added 3 new birds this year, and I love them. So I have my whole family of birds to kind of start off my February page, and I'm loving it. I love the idea of using these circles to kind of draw your eye across the page, and also just using up a piece of this journaling card, the black journaling card. I figured out the clusters that I want, and then I took everything off so that way I could do some background stamping. I'm just going to stamp currently in a red ink, loving in a black ink, this month in a pink ink. So just a few different colors to coordinate with the different colors in my circles. And I do realize that, you know, once I put my clusters back on, some of this stamping will probably get covered up, and that's okay. It's really not that big of a deal. I'm also using this little piece of foam to get a better stamp impression, and I think it's working fairly well. So got all my stamping done, and now I can put everything back onto the spread and finish the start of February. I'm loving this approach to my family stories. I will say that I do want to figure out a way to maybe put in some page protectors. So I think the only way to do that would to be manually punch each of the holes for the page protector, just because I really want to use up my stash this year, and I love page protectors, and I think it would be fun to have those in as a mix. So I am just gluing everything down and adding a few foam pieces to some of the black circles, so that way I can have a little bit of dimension. And really love this black journaling card. It's just so fun, such a fun card to have. And I know that recently Ali Edwards for this year switched up the color schemes for stories by the month. So that's okay. I'm totally ready for a new color scheme, but it's going to make it a little tricky to kind of coordinate the new and the old. But for this page, I just stuck with the old because I'm trying to use up that stash. I added in a few hearts to also add with the visual movement, and a really light pink heart to the spread. And then that will be just about it for this page. Fairly simple, but a little bit different than the opening page for January, where I had like a full family selfie. Adding a few more currentlies to the different spots that were hidden with the clusters. Okay, so that one's done. Now I'm moving on to the next spread, which is going to be kind of the things that we loved in February. So I know I've talked about this, but in my January video, I talked about how when I look at my family stories this year, I want to see them in a different lens, as Ali Edwards says. I want to see if there's a different way that I can bring them together. and a different way for me to scrapbook them. So as I was looking at my February photos, I saw a bunch of things that kind of represented what we loved about February. So I brought those all together and I made this template on my own in Photoshop Elements. And so I'm going to title this spread For the Love Of, and then just kind of bullet point list out the things that we loved, like having a lunch date with my husband, going to the library, building a Titanic Valentine's box. So just all the things that we loved this month in a really fun collage grid style template. I love it because I'm going to add a bunch of other pieces from the XO story kit. So I drew a line for my title, and then I didn't like how far away from the photos it was. So I erased it and I drew another one. And then I will use the Carrie Bradford Iris alphabet to stamp For the Love Of. And this, I was using the foam again, but having a little bit of trouble still with the stamping. So I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. It's just not as crisp as I like, but I stamp it twice and it looks better. So once I have this title stamped, I can go ahead and work on the various clusters that I want to make all over my spread. Like I said, it's going to be a very busy in a bad way, but busy spread with lots of different pieces that I'm going to have. Now, when I did stamp the F twice, I got it really smudged. So I'm just going to use a piece of paper and stamp out the F and then cut it out and glue it on top. And then you won't be able to tell that I kind of messed up. I also did the 3 dots. I don't know what those are called. You can tell me in the comments what those are called. Ellipses? I don't know. Whatever they're called, that's what I added. And then after this, I'm going to grab that pattern paper that's in the XO kit, and I'm going to punch some heart shapes. I thought it would be fun to use the heart punch that I have. It's a humongous punch, but I love it. And I figured, it's February. You might as well use the heart punch. I also wanted to draw in all the colors of this pattern paper, so that's why I pulled out the chipboard that has the XO repeated, and then a really big chipboard for the right-hand side. That way there's a title on the left and then a big chipboard cluster over on the right. Now, above the XOXO, I wanted to put one of the hearts, but I didn't want to cover up one of my son's friends, and so I had to kind of double check that, and I'll trim some of the heart. So that way it's just a little tiny piece doing like a peekaboo. I also loved this 3x4 card, and what I'm going to do is I am going to cut it up. Thought it would be fun to cut up the Hugs and Kisses card and maybe use a few of them. I was hoping to use 3, but I only wound up using 2. And then I think I took the one on the left and I put it a little bit too high, so it's going to stick off the page, but I can go back and fix it later or maybe move it to a different spot. I also got another stamp set from Carrie Bradford that I think is called Life Stories. I'm not sure, but if it's still available, I will link it in the description box. But I love all the different phrases that it has. It's perfect for everyday documenting, project life, just so many possibilities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some stamping in the cards, the various spots that I left. I filled those in the beginning of the video with white paper. I'll use those Carrie Bradford stamp sentiments to help make some journaling blocks. And then the one on the top right, that's going to be more of like a filler spot where I add a bunch of different phrases. So I'll put down the Hugs and Kisses, and then I'll adhere down the lots of X's and lots of O's, and I'll tuck a heart underneath it. And then I can go ahead and start stamping the various phrases. And I didn't grab my foam, so everything wasn't stamping the way I like it. Or maybe I'm just becoming too picky, you guys. I don't know. Either way, I'd like to stop being picky because, it's wasted time, right? And our time scrapbooking is precious. So for the bottom right card, I stamped Loving and then XO in a red ink, but I'm going to do that in just a little bit. I first wanted to go through and stamp all the phrases that I wanted to use in black ink. So the top card that I'm making, I'm doing a stack of phrases. So I started with Bits of Life, and then I did a really tiny one from the Ali Edwards stamp set that says XO, and I did that twice. And then below that, another Carrie Bradford sentiment that says Ordinary Magic. And then I am just taking the different sentiments and then fussy cutting them out from the paper so that way I could glue them right on top of the not so perfect ones. Like I said, probably becoming too picky. Up at the top left, I have Always Having Fun. And I'll kind of use that as my way to direct my journaling and what I talk about as far as breaking up my journaling into what's fun about these photos that we're loving, and then down in the bottom, all the other photos that have to do with just what we're loving. I'm also going to add in a few more stamped patterns, I guess, just to add a little bit more color that coordinates with the different colors in the pattern paper. So there's like a hash mark stamp in the XO kit. So I'm using that in orange and just putting it in various spots. There's also a circle that has like XO repeated. So I'll use that in pink and just layer that on as well. So I really love adding stamps in layers, and that way it just adds visually to the spread and also helps everything like coordinate together. So just adding in those, and then I will grab some word phrase stickers and add those in. I decided to just pick a few. So thankful for love. Love inspires me every single day. And over on the left hand side, I put XO. So up at the top, I thought about the things that were fun. So I put family games, need to do those more often, making homemade cookies, get-togethers with good friends, and meeting my husband for lunch. And then over on the loving section, I put my daughter's epic Titanic Valentine's box. It was so cool and so original. A date night with my husband, library trips, and my daughter learning how to use her own library card, which was just amazing, and giant hugs from my giant teenager. So that will wrap up the start of my February, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. All right, have a great day. Bye.